Hey everyone, in this video, we're going to look at the basics of working with the built-in shapes in the Affinity app. We'll talk about the multiple ways to create and manipulate a shape, and along the way, I'll share some tips and tricks on making it easier to do both. Are you ready? Let's get started. We're going to be covering the rectangle tool in this video, and that actually houses 19 different geometric shapes, a spiral shape, a QR code creator, and the famous cat shape. It's a default tool in all three of the main studios, Vector, Pixel, and Layout, and you can also include it in any custom studio that you create. If you're interested in learning how to set up your own studios, I've created a full tutorial dedicated to that, and I'll link that above. You can create a shape either by dragging one out manually, or if you want to be more precise, using a modifier click on your canvas to pull up a dialog box. Let's start with that option. For object data entry, just select your shape from the Rectangle Tools submenu, and then Command or Control click somewhere on your canvas so that you can enter dimensions. Now, it's going to pull up the last shape you created unless this is a brand new canvas. So you can see that mine is showing as 500 by 1500 because that's the last one I created. If I want to change that to something like 500 by 500, I'll just make sure that this is unlocked and I'll key in 500. And I can always lock it back up for the next shape, and I'll click OK. Now, if I want to create the exact same shape in the same size, I can use the same color or I can grab a new one, and then I'll Command or Control double click on the canvas and it's going to automatically create the same shape. When you have snapping engaged, you can also Command or Control click on a point on the control handle on an existing shape and create a shape centered on that spot. So let's say that I want to add an ellipse to the top center of this rectangle. I'll go up to the top and make sure that snapping is on. Select my color, and I'm going to grab the ellipse shape from my subtools. I'll hover over this top spot and I'm going to hold down Command or Control, and you can see I get that sort of bullseye there. I'll go ahead and click and it's going to create my ellipse. Now this is way too big. I'll go up to the top here, and this is symmetrical, but I want this to be 500 by 500. So I'll leave this locked and I'll just key in 500 to that first box and click OK. And now I have this arch shape. You can do that on any of the control handles on an existing shape, including the corners. Some shapes are going to have a lot more options in their dialog box. For example, this cog shape. I'll go ahead and select it and Command click on my canvas. And you can see that I not only have the width and height, but a number of other options here. Now, all of these options are also represented up in the contextual menu for this shape. So once I've created it, I can always adjust it using the contextual menu. Now I'm going to start with this. In this case, I want to change the number of teeth. That's these outer shapes. I'm going to set that to 5. I'm going to hold off on the inner radius for now, but I want to close the hole in the middle. So I'll change this to 0. I'm going to change the tooth size to 0. And then I'm going to play with the notch size. You can either key in a number or you can drag on a box. So I'm going to drag this up. Let's just see. I think I'm going to make that 0. And then for curvature, I actually want to key in 100%. At this point, I'm going to change the inner radius. I want to bring that down a little bit. And I'm going to bring it down until it creates this flower shape. So I've created a floral shape from the original cog tool. Now again, once I've created that, I can adjust any of the settings up here in the contextual menu. So let's say that I want this flower to have more petals. I'll go up to teeth, and I'm just going to drag up to make that maybe 8. I can make them a little bit fatter by pulling the inner radius up, maybe change the notches, or the curvature if I want them to be a little less rounded. I can also use the red control handles that you'll see here, which we're going to talk about in a few minutes. You could also drag out a shape manually and use modifiers on your keyboard to control the shape as you scale it. So I'm going to grab my ellipse tool here, and if I begin to drag out without holding any modifiers on my keyboard, you can see that I can create a freeform shape. In other words, the proportions of the shape are not locked, so I can create any shape that I want. If I hold Shift down while I'm dragging out, it's going to lock the proportions. If I hold Command or Control down, it's going to create a freeform shape, but this time it's going to create it from the center. If I hold Shift down while I do that, it's going to lock the proportions of the shape, but still create it from the center. Holding Control on a Mac or the right mouse button on Windows is going to rotate the shape around its handle. And finally, if you hold the space bar down, it's going to let you reposition the shape on the canvas while you create it. Now you can see that because I was rotating it, The control handle on the bounding box is actually down here instead of upright. The quickest way to change that is to cycle the selection. So I'm going to hit period on my keyboard. That's going to temporarily rotate it. So you can see that my handle is now at the top. If I want to lock that in place, I'll command or control period, and now it's locked. As you drag out your shapes, you can also engage the arrows on your keyboard to duplicate as well as space your shapes vertically and horizontally to create a quick grid. So I've selected my star tool, and I'm going to start dragging out an ellipse while holding down the shift key that's closest to my arrow keys on my keyboard, and I'll tell you why in a moment. Without releasing the shift or the mouse button, I'm going to tap on the right arrow key, and that's going to add a duplicate star. If I want to space those out, I can hold the arrow key down, and it's going to move that away. And as I tap, it's going to add more in that same distance. I can go vertically as well. So again, I can tap to add a row. I can space it further by holding the arrow down, and I can add more or delete them by going up or down on the arrow keys. It can be a bit tricky, especially since one hand is on the mouse button, but if you stay at the one side of the keyboard, it's a lot easier. Once I release, you can see that it's going to create a single layer for each star shape. I could go ahead and group these. I can work on each one individually. In this case, I have transform objects separately selected up here in the contextual menu, which means it's designated a key object. And if I rotate this one, it's going to rotate all of them. When working with shapes, the most important thing to note is that when you first create them, they're not considered curve layers, they're considered shape layers. So I've created that cog shape again, and if I go to my layers over here, you can see that it's listed as a cog, and the icon next to it is for shapes. Now this is a vector shape, and therefore it's infinitely scalable, but it's not a curve, which means that in its current state, I can't use the node tool to customize the path along the shape. I can convert it to a curve so that I can use the node tool, which I'm going to show you how to do in a bit. But when you first create it, just know that it is considered a shape layer. Now, while you can't use the node tools on a shape layer, remember there is a contextual menu at the top, and in some cases, when the shape is selected, you'll notice these little red control handles that allow you to make changes right on the shape itself. The only two shapes that don't have these immediately are the ellipse and the rectangle, but once they're modified a bit in the contextual menu, the handles will show up. Each of these corresponds with a setting in the contextual menu, so I can either drag these on the shape or, to be more precise, use the settings in the menu above. I'm going to create the same flower shape that I did previously, but this time I'm going to use the control handles. The only thing I can't change using them is the number of teeth, so since I want the petals to be 5, I'll go up to the top here and key in 5. When you hover over the dots, they're going to tell you the direction, as well as in some cases the width that you can move them. So I'm going to start with the hole down here. I'm going to close that. So I'm just clicking and dragging down till it's closed. I'm going to do the inner radius last. This one I'm going to make as wide as possible. I'm going to bring this one in as far to the center as I can. And then this one I'm just going to drag up, and you can start to see the petals forming. But now I need to pull the inner radius in. So I'm just going to drag this down along that line until it's set where I want. And now I have the flower shape that I created previously. Again, I can always go back in and I can either adjust these handles, or if I want, I can adjust the contextual menu at the top. Now you can see that even with those changes, this is still considered a shape layer, and I can keep it that way if I want. The only reason that I would need to convert it to a curve is if I want to be able to use the node tool to adjust the path along this shape. If I move to a different tool in the meantime and I want to come back and make additional changes, I can get those control handles back by selecting the shape and then hitting A on the keyboard to select the node tool. That's the only time the node tool actually works on a shape layer, is to bring these control handles back. Another way of creating variations on the built-in shapes is to use the preset menu that's in the contextual menu at the top. Now, not all shapes have presets, but many of them do, and you'll find them under this slider icon here at the top. So right now I have that cog shape selected, and if I click on that, you can see that I get a full menu of cog shapes that have been created and saved as presets. In some cases, like the more complicated shapes, such as the cog shape, the original form is actually included there. So if you want to take it back to the original settings, you can just click on that. Now, in addition to using built-in presets, you can also create your own. So if I wanted to, I could save this flower shape. I could go up to the top here to the burger menu, choose Create Preset, name it, and I'm all set. Now, I actually prefer to save mine to my assets, but you could save them here as well. Manage presets here at the top is going to give you a list of all of the presets on all of the shapes. You can also create your own category of presets and import and export them as well. Now, if you do want to be able to adjust the shape that you created using the node tool, you'll need to convert it to a curve, and you can do that one of 4 ways. With the shape selected, you can click on this icon up here in the contextual menu. You can right-click on the shape and choose Convert to Curves. You can go up to the vector menu at the top and choose Convert to Curves, or you can use the keyboard shortcut Command Enter on a Mac or Control Return on Windows. I'm just going to click this icon, and now you can see I have nodes at all of the points. And more importantly, what that means is if I want to make this look a little bit more of give it more of a hand-drawn feel, I can take the node tool and I can just using the handles as well as the nodes themselves, I can just drag out the paths and move things around. Now, one final note on converting to curves, if you use the corner tool on any of the sharp nodes on a shape layer, it's automatically going to convert the shape to a curve. Now, one final thing that I want to show you is that you can use the built-in shapes or several combined shapes to create custom picture and text frames, which are usually rectangular or circular. So I have the floral shape that I created here, and I want to create a picture frame out of it. I can either right click and choose Convert to Picture Frame, or I can go up to Layer at the top and choose Convert to Picture Frame. You can also convert to a text frame here as well. So now that I've done that, you can see I get that X, which indicates it's now a picture frame. So if I go to my stock panel here, I can drag in an image and I can use all of the tools in the picture frame to set that. If you have any questions about what we covered in this tutorial, or a suggestion for one you'd like to see, let me know in the comments below. I have lots more tutorials coming in the Affinity app, so be sure to subscribe so you know when the next one's published. If you've missed any of the other lessons in the series, you can find them here in the playlist. Thanks for watching.